MeMonster.
Chapter 96. Appearing Everywhere, Advent of the Enemy of Injustice. Do you know about the rumored criminal? There are rumors that say he hunts chaotic players who have committed crime. Who is he, the one who steals all chaos players' items? The rumor also said that he's giving back most of the stolen items back to society. What a righteous man. The true enemy of injustice of this era, his name, of course, it's you, Gildong. The words above, which doesn't seem awkward to be used as an intro to any work, seems to be talking about me. This situation was really awkward because I was always hunting the protagonist as their adversary wherever I go. Me righteous. I was nothing but a thief. The reason I robbed bandits was because they were carrying a lot of ownerless items that couldn't be tracked by guards anyway. My reason for giving back the items to the society. Firstly, it was difficult to carry all of it around due to the limited space of my inventory. However, I also couldn't put the items I robbed from the bandits into the auction because there's a chance that the original owner will come and make a ruckus. Besides, the currency of this world was useless for me. There's another option of using the black market, but how could I know about something like that when I have only been in this world for a few days? If I get hit in the back for no reason, it would be a headache. Thus, I decided to give back most of the items I got to society. Let's help you, Gildong. Let's defeat the Chaos Player too. Let's go. And that's how my image solidified. But it doesn't matter anyway. In the first place, I made the pseudonym Yu Gildong as a joke. Even my face was barely revealed. So far, I've been working hard for 2 weeks and collected numerous items. However, except for a few useful accessories, I haven't found any piece of equipment that could be useful for me. I was thinking of doing it for a few more weeks. However, are you the rumored Yu Gildong? Player who lived with SSS class luck. The protagonist has come. Would you like to be my colleague? The new episode of Protagonist has started. You, be my friend 1. Wouldn't it be dangerous? Don't worry, everything is going according to the plan. I see. I am very sorry to the system who believed my word right away, but I can't help it because the situation has developed in a really strange way. It wasn't that bad since I've become the protagonist's companion. I would be able to figure out a way to hunt him after collecting information about him little by little. But why now? I haven't finished my item farming yet. I want to wear a hero-grade suit and wield a hero-grade sword too. But that reason alone wasn't enough for me to turn down the offer to become his companion. Also, I accepted it because it seems like a necessary build-up to properly hunt him later. Okay, let's think positively. I have a lot of time until the deadline, right? Can I take his item? After a close examination, I decided it was impossible. Most of the items he had were legendary grades, while the maximum grade of the items that I could bring back to Earth were hero grade. By the way, I also realized that luck stat was extremely good. All of his items were legendary grade. Even the enchantment level of every equipment was quite high, in particular the weapons. For weapons, the higher the item enhancement level is, the brighter the aura around the weapon shines, and Protagonist's weapon was very dazzling. Should I punch him on the back of his head? I looked at Protagonist, who was walking in front of me. The back of his head was really sturdy. It was as spacious and reassuring as the mighty sea. I think I could hold a soccer match on that back. Oh, Braveheart, you are really strong. Having confirmed that the area in front of him explodes in a fan shape neatly after just one attack, I nearly gave up on facing Protagonist right now. And there's one more reason why I am giving up on facing Protagonist right now. It was his other companion. A muscular axe warrior male, 31 years old. A priestess of light female, 20 years old. A glasses magician male, 29 years old. A spirit archer female elf, 23 years old. In addition, Protagonist was a tank with a holy sword and a shield, so when the battle begins, I will have a 5v1 battle. How can I, who became the rogue class of this party, win? It'll be lucky if I didn't explode to death as soon as the battle began. Indeed, the Braveheart's Ethereal Storm Blade is a skill that spreads out his mana into a fan shape and triggers 1890 particle collisions per second. In addition, He altered the direction at the last moment to prevent the damage from spreading towards the elf who was shooting her arrow right next to him. Amazing, only Braveheart can handle that power at will. Haha, it's not a big deal. The magician constantly flapped his mouth during the battle by explaining his skill in great details. I don't know if it was a show of loyalty or whatever, but he was so noisy. Rogue, please release the trap. Oh yeah. I unequipped my ether long ago in order to pretend to be a rogue class. Throughout the battle, I was only standing in the back of the party while holding a dagger. I walked ahead to unlock the trap of the dungeon. Of course, I didn't have any ability to release a trap. Modern science is what you need in this case. Scanning the wearer iris. Confirmed. When I took out a pair of glasses from the inventory and put it on, the essence energy detection function was activated. These glasses were specially made to grasp the flow of magical power that the Library of the White Witch did not know. It was equipped with a multi-function display operation. In other words, I could detect not only most of the traps in this world which were mostly made of magical power, but also primitive traps such as poison arrows or falling rocks. Scanning. Will it be at least hero-grade equipment if I sell these glasses as an item? All the rogue class players will want it. Unbelievable to be able to deactivate a flare blinker trap that connects to another trap by only destroying the detonator with such thorough calculated hand movement as expected from the rumored Yu Gildong. I really want to beat that guy. In conclusion, becoming Braveheart's companion wasn't a bad choice. Firstly, I was able to find out about him and his companion's level. Their fighting capabilities weren't that good. The combination of their skills was not well suited either. Nevertheless, the reason why they always win was simply because protagonist correction was with them. The average level of Braveheart and his party was in the early to mid-100s, but from now on they'll always meet enemies that could only be beaten by them, so can I really defeat them? Secondly, I discovered a special hidden secret of the Braveheart. Liot, we did it again today. Braveheart is amazing. It was the fact that his level 10 enchanted legendary weapon, the Holy Sword, was an ego sword. It was a sword that speaks a lot. Third, the purpose of the warrior. Why am I traveling? Of course, to defeat the Black Dragon King. Why? Isn't it natural? The system that sent us players to this world said that the Black Dragon King is said to be an evil destroyer. As I put a suspicious look, the system said. The system he talked about is presumed to be similar to the constellation. They have the power to do that. Well, I knew very well that the constellations did many weird things for their own fun, because I had experienced it firsthand the other day. And the last and fourth reason, this is the most important. Oh, Braveheart, you picked another hero-grade item. Most of the items I earned during 2 weeks I acted as a robber were either unusable or low-grade, so I had to discard them. But unlike me, Braveheart who went around the dungeon always got usable items. Haha, I was lucky. Oh, but this is something I can't use. Do you want to have it? Thanks. In addition, Braveheart always distributed items he could not use to his companions who needed it. Leeching from the protagonist like this isn't so bad. Hunter, you see Autumn. Oh, don't worry, I wouldn't let my personal feelings affect the quest. I'll kill him anyway, just like how villain hunters shut their emotions off when they hunt villains. I'll also shut my emotions off while hunting protagonists. I feel that way just because he was the most useful protagonist among all protagonists I've ever met so far. Since then, I have been active as the colleague of the protagonist for another week. That day, Braveheart and his party sensed something was off from me. But Rognim, why don't you use your skill? Yeah, I have never seen you use any skill. Yes, I couldn't use any game skill because I don't have the system. In contrast, players were able to do all sorts of ridiculous movements through their skills. Flame Sword, Arcbuster, Rainbow Step. Have you ever seen someone activate an advanced technique with a single word or throwing 20 knives in succession without missing or even a movement that completely defies the law of physics? Unlike the skills I had so far, their skills have more amazing effects. Perhaps Rognim, are you a genuine player? Pardon. What is a genuine player? While I was unable to answer the mage's question, the priestess asked another question. Genuine players are people who do not raise their level and skill proficiency. They only care about their training. Alright, come to think of it, I do see them from time to time. I don't know why they do that. They don't know that it will be easier if they level up. If your skill proficiency increases, you will surely train them too. And they'll get items too while going around dungeons. Hence, they cast aside their suspicions towards me. It has been only 2 years since players have come to this world. However, the strongest player amongst players has already achieved S rank, that is, the level of sword expert. When I think about it, it's really strange. Even when I rose into a rank within a year, I had 15 years of hard training and life experience. It was only possible because I absorbed the probability and skill of the protagonist I hunt. But what about players? They achieved S rank in only 2 years by only going around the dungeon for a few hours a day without performing any form of training. In order for a talented swordsman to become a sword expert, they need to train for at least 10 years and at most 20 years. By the way, don't they become strong too easily while skipping all the training? Wait a minute, this. Players weren't the only one who lived in Playden. In the first place, there is a much higher proportion of natives compared to players. Yes, it was good to defeat that Black Dragon King, Black Curtain, or whatever its name is. But will they really go back to their original world just by doing that? If not, what will happen if the players continue to remain in this world? Didn't they say that the strongest swordsman of the Empire was a sword master? There's a total of 30 strongest non-players in Playden, and all of them were sword masters. Their long years of training were nothing in front of the players. No matter how much blood they spill while swinging their swords, it wasn't as efficient as a player's way of gaining strength who only needed to catch a few monsters to level up. If things go on just like this, players will easily outperform the world's strongest non-player who have been training for decades in 3 years. This is a chronic problem in every world with game system setting. A fusion fantasy world with a game system setting. Players use the system to grow stronger, destroy evil, and have a happy ending. But after that, what happens to the world where the power balance has completely collapsed? How long will players remain as heroes of this world? It wouldn't be forever. In the near future, players will thoroughly dominate this world. If that happens, before the world is destroyed by probability, it is more likely that it will be destroyed by war. The system said resolutely. There are more reasons to hunt the protagonist. Come on, hurry. As expected from you, Braveheart, that's great, but can you give me one glove? Oh haha, I almost forgot. Here, it's yours now, Rogue Nim. You have to hunt. Oh, thank you, but I also worked hard this time. Please give me one more. Myci have this too. See, Autumn. Her empty voice reverberated inside the dungeon, but I was so busy trying to sort the items that I heard those words quite half-heartedly. Chapter 97. Finally. The pure white boot was finally mine. It looks like something made of aluminum, but in fact, it was a set boot made of metal that came down from the sky. You could barely feel the weight of the boot when you wear it. The defense was also very high. On top of it, this hero-grade item had a special effect. Desire of Windstep, who long for the sky, +5. Grade Hero. Restriction. Strength 100. Agility 150. Mana 90. Effect. Physical defense plus 155 BP. Magic defense plus 135 BP. Wind element resistance plus 85. Wind element efficiency plus 70. Prefix option. Desire, enhancing the effect of the suffix to the next level. Suffixing option. Longing for the sky, creating a strong wind, making a strong leap forward. Special skills. Wind leap, creating a path of wind. If you use it once, you must step on the ground to reuse it. It's been 2 months since I've been carried around by the protagonist. In the meantime, many items had found their way to me, but most of them weren't that good. It would be quite a waste to bring those items back to Earth. Their stats were quite okay, but I think I could get a better one. In the meantime, I finally got hero-grade boots. Of course, it wasn't as good as Protagonist's legendary grade shoes the miracle of God's first step who fell asleep in the legend +8. However, I've been told that if I bought an item that has been enchanted to +6 or higher to Earth, there's a small chance it will triggers a probability accumulation. I am not envious of rice cakes that I can't eat anyway, because now I feel that my boots were far more precious than Protagonist's. I blocked my laughter from leaking out. These boots really existed just for me. It was a perfect match for Dharma Heavenly Wind God Technique SS plus rank skill. It was possible for me to maneuver in the air to some extent with Dharma Heavenly Wind God Technique SS plus rank. However, this was only when a strong wind blew. When I said strong wind, it was a blow close to those disaster level wind blow. Without it, the skill was only at the level of running fast in the wind. But with this item, I could make a strong leap in the air. Even if I could only do it once in the air, the cooldown of the skill will be reset every time I step on the ground. So air maneuvering is possible even for me, who was not able to maneuver without a certain condition or without magnetic grappling gun. It was perfectly suited to me, who had never learned martial arts officially and could never reach the level of Chinsangbai who could soar into the sky. That skill was just a side effect, and here comes the real thing. It was a barrier point BP. Players in this world had a gauge called BP. It was a barrier that prevented their ordinary body from receiving any kind of attacks directly. So, it was natural for items that gave BP to be rare and expensive because everyone needs to raise their BP through equipment like armor and accessories. Of course, I won't die from a few hits just because I don't have any BP. It was because my basic physical abilities are much higher than the players, but just like ether coating, BP will be an additional defense for me. Although it was a boot, its defense power is comparable to a 3rd grade ether suit. In other words, I will have defense power equal to 2 3rd grade ether suits. I can't wear it yet because I don't have enough agility. After putting the Step of the Wind into the inventory, my heart slightly felt reassured. In addition, I got additional epic grade accessories such as Eshtanka's shining wrist guard and sleeping necklace of Water Lake. It was good to say that I finished farming items in this world. It was a pity that I couldn't get a weapon or an armor, but honestly, it was okay to return to Earth just like this. Of course, in order to do that, I have to hunt the protagonist. It's been 2 months since I've been with the main character, but it wasn't the time yet, because I had to wait for a big event to figure out his exact weakness. This kind of case was pretty rare. Protagonist and his party progressed smoothly without facing any significant obstacles. Even when they explored some remote areas and met some officials of the Black Dragon King, they were always at the level that could be beaten by Protagonist and his party. He never faced any crisis. The episode The Garden of Death, where the Black Flower Sharana blooms for, has ended. Protagonist even successfully defeated a villain who claimed to be an executive of the Black Dragon King who occupied a village. There seemed to be little to no problem in the path of a protagonist who possessed luck, powerful weapons, super rare skills, and legendary class. Today, let's stay overnight at Cameron Fortress. Late in the evening after we beat Sharana, we entered the Cameron Fortress. This place was a fortress that stands at the forefront of the battlefield against monsters. This place was called Hell by the natives. However, for the players, there's no better hunting ground than this one. There are only players all over. There's almost no natives here. Somehow, the atmosphere of Cameron Fortress was gloomy and dull. In fact, there were some cities back on Earth that have this kind of atmosphere, especially in remote areas where every day there is a war due to large numbers of monsters. I tend to hunt around such areas often, and I have seen quite a few heartbreaking tragedies, such as dying elderly people, starvation, drought, and a single mother who cries over a bottle of milk. Strangely enough, however, there weren't any such people in Cameron Fortress. Players are everywhere. There were only players in this place. Something. As we walked through the streets, we were finally able to reach the inn. And dozens of spears could be found in front of the huge castle gate. No, to be precise, dozens of heads stuck at the top of the spears. What else is that? It was a human head, no doubt. In this very cruel landscape, I was the only one who felt a sense of incongruity. I called out to Protagonist and his party, who walked normally as if nothing was wrong. Braveheart Nim, what is that? As I pointed my fingers to the heads stuck in the spears, Protagonist replied as it was nothing. Oh, that they are player rejector. Those people reject us just because we are from another world. Is that so? That head, the one in the middle, he was originally the lord of this fortress. This place is a good place for players to hunt, so players started to gather here, but somehow that guy refused players to enter. Only then could I understand the situation. Cameron Fortress was a so-called honey hunting ground infested with monsters, but the lord of the castle denied players access. The lord was strong. Well, it was only natural because he is an old man who had been at war since he was born, but at the end of the day he was almost taken by the demons and the players saved him. And Xianzhu and his family became like that in exchange for rejecting players. It was a pity. I don't know why they are rejecting us. Players are the heroes who will save the world. Why did you reject players? Did you realize what would happen? The Lord of Cameron Fortress had already realized that the players would capture the fortress. However, without knowing the players' growth rate, he became like that because of his excellent insight. The Lord, who had lived in Cameron Fortress for generations, was annihilated by players who had only been in another world for a year at that time. All the inhabitants of the fortress were expelled, and this fortress had become players' property. As I listened to Protagonist, I suddenly found someone standing in front of him. That figure had a hood on, so I couldn't see the face in detail, but somehow I heard some sobbing. The cliché of the next episode was detected. In that night, a horde of demons raided Cameron Fortress. The episode for the Cameron Fortress one has begun. Under the red sky, the earth was soaked with blood that hasn't dried yet. The forgotten bodies that were scattered here and there became nothing but food for crows. Black Dragon King Karkastan, a great devil who has lived for hundreds of years. It was said that he will do anything to put the Platin continent under his rule. The reason why Mile Cameron could become a devil was probably because of Karkastan. She was originally born as a human and was hostile towards the devil, but one day a year ago her family was annihilated by players. It was funny. As long as she could remember, she had been fighting against the devil to protect humanity. However, the beings known as players have become stronger than her, who had trained for more than 10 years in only 1 year. They even formed a group to bring the fortress down. Mio questioned herself. Why did I train diligently every day? Why did I suffer while sweating blood? And she pledged for her revenge. Even after surviving alone in the fortress, she constantly abused and trained herself. She poured out a lot of blood and sweat every day. However, as time passed, the gap between her and the players only widened. If she grows by 10, then the player would grow by 100. They even showed an overwhelming level of equipment by using the item and enchantment system. They also easily learned the sword technique that she had practiced for her whole life through the skill acquisition system. Mio felt like she was falling down to the depth of hell. Why did God send such unreasonable beings down to this world? However, even such an unending sense of despair could not overcome her burning desire of vengeance. In the end, Mile Cameron made an extreme choice. She devoted her soul to the Black Dragon King to gain the power of the devil. Today I am reclaiming my hometown. Protagonist had to admit Mile Cameron was strong. She was stronger than any enemies he had met so far. His companions had already collapsed because of numerous fatal injuries. The rogue was also nowhere to be seen. The mage was the one who was still standing, albeit barely holding onto his consciousness. It was a really fierce battle. Everyone tried their best, but in the end, they couldn't overcome Mile. Hey Braveheart, run away if you die. There is no hope left for all of us. As the mage screamed hard, Protagonist shook his head. Fatigue was clearly visible on his face. No, I won't run away. It was impossible. She can never be overcome with your current strength. That was right. Yu Xiaodam thought so too as he watched the whole situation while pretending to be passed out under a pile of rubles. The protagonist Protagonist has met a crisis. If I am lucky, won't the protagonist just die like this? A sense of anticipation appeared in his heart. Kyo, you are arrogant. A dark magical power was condensed in Mile's both hands, and then a deformed red magic circle was created. Then the mage screamed in surprise. That technique, it was Black Dragon's spirit that could only be used by the 7th executive of the Black Dragon. It's a heinous skill that has killed so many warriors so far. Please, Braveheart, run away. No one has survived that skill. But Protagonist did not answer. He only raised his holy sword high. Believe in me. Along with the voice of the holy sword Light, a golden glow erupted from the sword. No, that effect. Don't tell me, Braveheart. Are you trying to enchant your weapon now? It's reckless. The probability is only 0.001%. It will never be possible, But if you succeed in enchanting your sword to +11, you can use the ultimate attack skill, a sacred hard great attack anyway. Enchantment, it was something that Mile, who had been studying about how to deal with players, was familiar with. In the midst of this fierce battle, you're expecting to succeed with a 0.001% chance. It's just funny. No. However, Braveheart was determined. With faith and courage, nothing is impossible. Everyone should believe in us and become stronger. After saying so, Protagonist called out the activation words. Item enhancement. Protagonist Protagonist uses enhance item skill. Shortly thereafter, both Audiobooks and the system could see a strange sight. The probability of the event is agglomerated. Isn't the crisis that fills the space around him has been energized and gathered around Protagonist. Crazy, what is that? He is absorbing all the crisis probabilities from everywhere and replacing them with luck. And then, the Black Dragon's spirit was fired from Miles' hand and the whole world was dyed with reddish darkness. At the same time, a flash brighter than the sun emerged from Protagonist's holy sword and clashed against the darkness. Don't tell me this power. The protagonist Protagonist had succeeded enchanting sacred sword Light to +11. Protagonist Protagonist uses the item skill, a sacred hard great attack, anyway SS. The red darkness gradually lifts off. Protagonist also fell down after his power was completely exhausted. Impossible, this is ridiculous, this is ridiculous. Did you know what kind of efforts I've been doing so far? Miles' mind was going crazy. She had trained her mind in a harsh environment, trained her body in a lava, and trained her soul in a space full of pain. Not only her decades of training as human, she even devoted her soul to the devil to catch up with the players. All my efforts were meaningless in front of a single enchantment. When the last bit of Miles' life evaporated completely, the darkness was already completely lifted by the light of the Braveheart. It was Braveheart Protagonist's victory. While everyone was thrilled, Audiobooks was also watching him. No, to be precise, he looked at the +11 legendary grade sword he was holding. Wow, it's +11. It is not something to admire. The protagonist is getting stronger. It's +11. When Audiobooks stared blankly into the +11 holy sword, the system's worry grew bigger and bigger. What if he's been bewitched by the +11 weapon and decided to postpone the protagonist hunt even more? Certainly, it was scenery that you can't see just anywhere. However, from the system's point of view, it's upsetting. Until now, Audiobooks looked like he was not interested in hunting the protagonist at all, even when the protagonist continues to grow stronger. All he cared about are items. As the systems look at Audiobooks with a complicated mind, she noticed something. The fate that was visible only to her had gradually begun to change. 31%, 34%, 39%, 44%. The hunting success rate is increasing. The success rate of Audiobooks in hunting the protagonist was measured through fate. It calculated things based on things like the world's environment, character relations, degree of technological development, and the background of the times. It's not an exaggeration to say that even a passing ant could influence the calculation. And Audiobooks was a very unique person who could greatly increase the probability of hunting by directly observing the fate. In fact, didn't he utilize the given environment and character relation to the fullest every time? In other words, Audiobooks, who seems to be watching the reinforcement effect blankly, could be in the middle of designing a fate for hunting the protagonist. Wait. Then the client recalled one more thing that Audiobooks had been doing. Did he become a righteous robber just because he wanted an item? Perhaps he's doing it with an intention to join the protagonist's party from the start. The system was aware that Audiobooks certainly had a materialistic side on him. However, he's a professional. A professional who would always complete the quest that has been given to him. The client also looked at the enchantment effect of +11, which shone brightly. She still wasn't sure yet, but Audiobooks must have thought of some kind of hunting plan when he saw that effect. Otherwise, the hunting success rate wouldn't rise. No way, all the actions you had took so far was a plan. I didn't even know that it had such deep meaning behind them. The system, who was sorry after doubting him, lowered her head and apologized. And Audiobooks answered to no one but himself. No, it's just a coincidence. Contrary to the client's misunderstanding, he didn't plan anything from the start, neither becoming a righteous thief nor Braveheart's companion. It was all coincidence. But in the end will justify the means. Because it's true that I had a rough outline for the plan. Chapter 98. The protagonist this time was quite unique compared to any other protagonist I've met in the past. He could consume probability and convert it to luck. Some protagonists acquired skills according to the situation due to probabilities. Some protagonists use all probabilities to turn back time. Some protagonists consume probabilities to think of inventions that fit the situation, and some protagonists consumed probabilities to create the world. It may seem like luck wasn't a big deal compared to other protagonists' skills, but I dare to say that it's more unique than a regression. For example, let's say that a group of warriors are lost in a remote area. Oh, you going to Clinton, there are 6 seats left in the wagon, hop in, it'll drive you. Then they'll meet a friendly helper who passed by with a wagon. That's not all. There's a legend that has been passed down from generation to generation of herbalists like us, about Green Mountain ginseng. It is said that if wild ginseng survives for 999 years in a polar region, it becomes a very rare elixir, of course. The odds of finding one are heinous. My family has also been looking for it for over 300 years, but we haven't even seen it. No way isn't that the Green Mountain ginseng. Where did you get it? I accidentally stumbled over a stone and fell down, but I pulled it out because it was in front of my nose. With such luck, Protagonist could find something that other people had been searching for generations. Of course, the situation above could be ignored. However, most of the luck that manifested in a crisis situation was really ridiculous. Warrior dangerous. A monster was about to hit Protagonist back. The situation was so sudden. What if there is no way to deal with it? At that moment, the world comes out and saves him. A thunderbolt fell from a clear sky. Really, by chance, the enemy who was aiming behind Protagonist fell due to a thunderbolt falling from a clear sky out of nowhere. It's not just the thunderbolt. The floor collapses out of the blue, the clouds block the sun, or the enemy suddenly loses their sight. Since he was a protagonist who simply eats and lives with luck, I always thought that he was consuming probability whenever he's choosing good items or succeeding in enchantment. But my thoughts were incorrect. To be lucky is to be loved by the world. And being loved by the world means that you can pass all the difficult paths in your life and choose only the best shortcuts. It means that no matter how fast others run and try again, they can't get ahead of those who comfortably take a shortcut. However, the probability is not infinite. Luck may seem invincible, but in the end, probability was limited in one world. Take an example from item reinforcement. The success rate of 0.001% could never be raised into 100% even after consuming all probability around him. So, in order to succeed in this 0.001% chance, an event or story were necessary. In other words, a climax episode that corresponds to the current event must be prepared. Such as Braveheart in Crisis. A situation full of despair where there's no way to get through hardships and adversities. The very moment when the probability of overcoming the crisis is brought to 100%, the protagonist will pour all of it into item enchantment. That's where the weakness is. Is there a way? Hearing the expectant voice of the system, I felt sorry for some reason. Yes, the client trusts and relies only on me, but she believes me far too easily. For now, it wasn't a lie this time. I really did have a rough idea for my plan. I walked out from the pile of rubles. Mile, who had become a devil, had died, and Protagonist raised Liat, the +11 holy sword, to enjoy the joy of victory. Before long, cheers erupted from all the players who survived from the Battle of Cameron Fortress. Do they realize that this disaster was caused by them? I don't think so. It was rather good for me. In the meantime, it wasn't like Autumn hadn't thought about various plans for hunting Protagonist. The first plan was, just like the hero he hunted the other day, he planned to kill Protagonist by forcing him to face the last boss. The second plan was causing problems between players and natives. However, by looking at today's incident, I know for sure the first method was useless. Even if he met the Black Dragon King, he would succeed in enchanting his holy sword into +15 and fight. He wasn't someone who would die just like that. Then all that left was the second plan. It was causing trouble between players and the natives, and naturally drive the protagonist into a crisis. Since it is not a crisis situation caused by the Black Dragon King, the probability around him would decrease and the hunting success rate will naturally increase. In fact, I was reluctant to do so. I was someone who will resort to murder if it's for my own benefit. I have no intention to pretend to be good. Just like how the owner of a rice cake dumpling soup restaurant has faith in the rice cake that they made, a killer also needs to have their own conviction. In my case, I'll do it without dragging too many innocent souls. It is a shabby conviction that cannot be compared to the divine conviction such as making rice cake, but I have never violated this conviction. But this time it might be a little different. Some of the players are good and innocent. However, the player was eating the continent of Platon. For 2 months, I've experienced so much after partying with the players, and just today, I realized what will happen to an immature being who gained so much power easily and quickly. Are you going to kill normal players? Of course not all. I am going to take the bad guys as an example. At the same time, it would be better if the presence of a player on this continent shrinks. After all, there's a limit to how strong the player could be. However, it was becoming a problem because the limit is overwhelmingly higher than the natives of this world. However, if you put constraints on their abilities and scope of activity, the terrible future that the client envisioned would not happen. So what's the plan? Originally, the hunting success rate was 29%, but it soared to 37% the moment I discovered the weakness of the protagonist's story. It is still not over 50%. I have an idea, but honestly I am not very confident. I don't know how far I could go with my power alone. Maybe the difficulty of this mission was higher than the time when I hunted Supreme Dharma. At that time, a group with strong power had a strong resentment towards Dharma, and all I had to do was fan the flame. In this case, it was impossible to do so. I need to attack several groups, not just one. How far can I influence this world? I can't do it alone. I wish I had someone to help me. However, I've been working alone all the time, and I can't hope for something like that right now. I'll just do all that I can. Let's go. After glancing at the Braveheart's back, who was still drunk on victory, I quietly left. If we talk about the eastern part of the continent of Platon, most people will talk about the Merodan Empire. No matter who hears it, they'll believe it, because it was the Merodan Empire that ruled the entire East. Good mountains, good air, and dozens of streams on its territory enriched the land of the empire. And it wasn't an exaggeration to say that the development of magic has helped the Merodan Empire solidify its position as a superpower nation. Somewhere in the corner of the Merodan Empire, in a deep forest devoid of any intelligent species, a girl with a black hair popped out from a distorted space, rolled around and hit her head against the tree. Ouch! She couldn't move for a while. She held her head in agony as a considerable amount of pain struck all over her body. As the pain subsided, she raised her head. Her blue eyes were scanning her surroundings. Here. She was able to grasp her surroundings as she drew her breath, and as she blinked her eyes, she was able to guess the ecosystem of this place. I can live in this place. It was a forest filled with beasts, but for her, who had wandered through countless dimensions and experienced all sorts of circumstances, it wasn't a big deal. Her name is Araceli Riencal. She was known as the greatest nine-circle wizard as well as the great sage of the Vivienda Empire, Despite her young appearance, she was someone who had lived for quite some time. Of course, there's a reason for her young appearances. How old are you? Araceli Riencal was someone with natural talent for magic and had spent her entire life studying about dimensional travel without even paying attention to any other discipline. As a result, she was able to pursue the trail of any dimensional traveler. However, there's one fatal problem with her unstable dimensional movement. 14. You are too young. That is, in the process of crossing dimensions, she constantly collides with the fragment of time she encountered. Araceli's appearances always changed whenever she arrives in a new dimension. Fortunately, her body age did not age rapidly, but the problem is she kept getting younger. She had been studying about fragments of time for several years now, and the fact that she had yet to overcome this problem had left her depressed. It's not like this, no, I can do it. It's been a long time since she started this journey. For such a long time, she had crossed numerous dimensions, and now she even lost her way to return to her hometown. How did I get this far? She suddenly recalled a memory from a distant past. At first, she did this just to express her gratitude. After losing all her confidence, she nearly quit magic altogether. Her only ally was her professor. He turned her life upside down, allowing her to become the greatest ninth circle magician and defeat the threats that loomed in her world. If she hadn't met the professor, would she have been able to continue studying magic? Could she have saved the world if she hadn't met the professor? So, after she finished all of her business in Vivienda, Araceli was ready to go out of the world. She finally tried to find the professor who saved herself and her own world. That's right. At first, she just wanted to express her gratitude to her first and last benefactor. It was just a journey that stemmed from that feeling. So she wandered around numerous strange worlds. She came to a new world, she got to know new people, new stories. A world of fairies covered in purple, a world entirely made of swords, a world made up of numerous constellations who watched their avatar struggling for survival, and a world where the Holy Sword ruled for 1,000 years. Traveling through a myriad of dimensions, Araceli realized the existence of someone who led the world into destruction by consuming energy similar to the essence of the world. And once again, she was able to learn about the existence of Yu Xiaodam. He wandered and saved countless worlds by killing those who were leading the world to destruction. The journey that started with a simple feeling no longer felt simple. She became more and more obsessed. My mana is... When she checked the amount of mana in her body, it was less than 10%. The price of crossing between dimensions through an unstable gap was huge. Probably it will take a considerable amount of time before she recovered all of her mana. When she didn't have enough mana, the only thing she believed in was her physical ability that she trained since she was 19 years old. When she reverted back to her young appearance, she quickly became fragile. Realizing that her smooth abs were completely gone, she hastily focused a small amount of magical power on her fingertips. She carved a rock near her and made a dagger out of it. She then looked around her for something to cover her body. She had to bear this inconvenience because she couldn't bring any items except for her necklace, which she always wore around her neck. She said, "Oh, if only I could bring a spatial bag." Araceli, who wore a woven long grass around her sensitive area, began to wander through the forest with her bare feet. She had enough time before the sun began to set, but she still needed more time to replenish her magic, so she had to find a place to protect her body in a hurry. By the way, there's one fact that Araceli didn't know. A new supporting character has joined the story. She has a very strong relationship with Yu Xiaodam, so the moment she enters the same world as him, she was forced to join the story he intercepted. Rasil. Araceli quickly turned her head when an enemy was detected in her faintly spread magic field. Then two men appeared there. There is a child in a place like this. Oh, it's real. As expected from a guy who goes around killing some people, your ability to find a person is amazing. She rolled her eyes around and sent her little magical power to grasp their ability. If they are weak, I'll deal with them in moderation and then run away. One man with black hair and one man with blue hair. One man had an ability close to sword professional and the other man was a wizard of the 7th circle. They were also amongst the strongest people of this world, but Araceli could beat them quite easily. However, it is better not to do so because the amount of mana she possessed was quite limited. Who are you? Pasios, I'm a player. I am Riduru. I was once a chief wizard of the Empire. Well, I've been taken away by the players and now I am only a mercenary. Little girl, who are you? One man was a player and one was a mercenary wizard. I am Araceli, a wizard. The two men narrowed their eyes and looked at Araceli after hearing her answer. It was hard to believe that a girl who seems to be about 14 years old said that she was a wizard. Pasios thought that it was nothing but a bluff to protect herself. He sighed before putting the sword that he had secretly pulled back to its scabbard. It was because he felt weird being vigilant against a little girl like her. Ridurun giggled. I got the wrong person. She's just a kid isolated in a remote area. It'll take you back to the city. Aren't you a good PK? If you're going to keep pestering me, just go away. I can't. I really have nowhere to go. Pasios approached Araceli and wrapped her in his black cloak. Then he opened his item window and took out a piece of hard bread and handed it towards Araceli. Eat, it's not something strange. I know, I just scanned it, but there seems to be strawberry jam in the mysterious subspace that you have. Can't you give it to me too? At her words, Pasios' expression turned stiff. How do you know that? I just saw it. I am a wizard, remember, and a really good one at that perhaps. With a suspicious look, Pasios took out the strawberry jam and handed it over. She said that she sensed someone else's subspace. How? That was an impossible feat even for a 7th circle wizard like him. Player's item window was estimated to be a space interference type of magic with a power around 9th circle or even higher. This kid is. What the hell is she? They gazed at Araceli's mysterious blue eyes with confused expressions. It's the most delicious jam I've ever eaten. Whatever I eat is way better than the fins of an unknown dragon. Unlike the two men who quickly fell into a serious atmosphere, Araceli spread the strawberry jam on the bread and bit it off with excitement. Chapter 99. Dardican, a city of honor and warriors. Oh, it's a really cool city. Right. Araceli wandered around the city with a wide smile. It was a beautiful city. The roads were paved with pure white tiles, the buildings were painted in colorful colors, and the streets were filled with tourists who came to watch the warriors fight, and of course, the merchants were full of vigor. Is this your first time coming to the city? Of course not, I am completely a city person. Not just a city person, but completely a city person. What the hell does that mean? Pasios stared at Araceli. The city reflected in her blue eyes. Unlike her young appearance, her eyes were calm and deep, like a veteran who had seen the reality of the world for decades. Araceli's eyes were glued to the skewer and snacks sold by the street vendors. And unlike her mature image from before, she looked rather cute right now. Looking at Araceli reminded Ridurun of his little sister, and in the end, Ridurun ended up buying a lot of snacks for her. Then Araceli began to munch on the enormous amounts of snacks in her hands without any care in the world. Pasios and Ridurun may not know, but Araceli was having a good time after so long. She had lived a life where she couldn't eat properly, so a food that really tasted like food really spurned her appetite. And then one of the street vendors asked Araceli when she was in the middle of ordering a rice cake skewer. Hey student, in hot weather like this, aren't you feeling stuffy in those clothes? It's because I don't have any other clothes. Oh my god. When Araceli answered without thinking much, a lot of people were looking at her with pitiful eyes. Ridurun, who couldn't take it anymore, pulled out a suitcase full of clothes. When I succeed later, I'll be sure to pay you back. It is questionable when she would succeed. It's a really nice city, there are also a lot of people. Do you think so? In the past, there were more people. More than now. Yes, it has started to decrease this year. Why? Well, it can't be helped. The law has become weird since players took over the city's mayor position. It can be said that Dardican was the most culturally bustling city on the east side of the Maraudin Empire. Originally, this place was a city of barbarians or warriors, which were very far from the term culture. However, along with time, they were also changing. This city has a really unique culture. Only the strongest warrior could be the ruler mayor of Dartican. Even the Maraudin Empire couldn't touch that rule. That rule has existed there throughout the history of Dratican without any problem. However, starting from this year, problems began to arise. Somehow, if one became the champion of Dartican and won the position of the mayor, one would acquire wisdom that accompanied strength through enlightenment. But the players didn't get it at all. Just in less than 3 years, players who suddenly gained strong power become arrogant. They implemented several strange policies with the pride that they became the mayor of the strongest city. So this city, which is usually crowded every year, was strangely quiet this year. Most of the people around the city were players. I can't believe that even the city of honor, Dartican, has been eaten by people from another world. It's a mess. Reduran said with a complex expression on his face. Unlike his bright personality, he is clearly not in his best mood right now. After listening to Reduran's story, Arakeli recalled the existence called player once again. Those who can quickly gain power by simply killing a monster. Just how many tears and blood had she spilled to be a 9th circle wizard? And how much enlightenment did she achieve in the process of becoming strong? And if those players who gained strength without any enlightenment existed all over this continent? It's a good city with many good people, but I don't want to live in a world like this. Arakeli decided she will accomplish what she needs to do as soon as possible and return. I actually have someone I've been looking for. Who parents, friend, family, brother, sister, if not. Shut up, Reduran, who are you looking for? He's a man called UC Autumn, do you perhaps know him? Both Reduran and Passio's expressions crumpled. Yeah, we know him, but even if you want to find him, you won't be able to. What are you talking about? Because there are many other people who are looking for that man besides you. Passio said as he pointed his finger to the poster where people were gathered. Go there, there's information about him there. Really, where? Originally, Arakeli didn't expect them to know about UC Autumn. She was quite taken aback by Passio's answer. With an excited expression, she turns her head to the direction Passio's was pointing at. Wanted. Serial murdered 5-star rating. Player UC Autumn. Dead or alive? 1 million G. She saw a wanted poster with UC Autumn's face on it. He even had a 5-star rating that was given to only the most heinous criminals in the entire continent. It wasn't just some person with the same name as her professor. That face, that nose, that sleazy but bright smile, those clear eyes, and that lips that seemed to hide those teeth. How could she forget that face? It was the face of someone she had never forgotten even once throughout the decades. Why? She slowly approached the wanted spot on the wall. Is that the person you're looking for? When Passio's asked, Arakeli nodded her head blankly. It's something that a player killer like me shouldn't say, but that man is a fairly heinous serial murderer. In this city, Dartican, he's attracting attention for killing all the government executives. Arakeli proceeded to read his offense. Assassination, assassination, murder, assassination, etc. Most of his victims were noble, politicians, merchants, and important figures. It's no wonder that his wanted posters were scattered across the continent. Passio said after roughly tearing off one of many wanted posters of UC Autumn. He is also someone I need to kill. Pardon me. When it comes to Passios of the Black Knight Guild, there is no one who doesn't know. He was the very first player to enchant a legendary grade weapon into +7, and was the first ranker to reach level 200. And now he was a very vicious player who had left the guild and worked as a solo player as well as a PK. The fall of Passios, who used to be called the best player. However, he had his reason for doing so. If he keeps going like this, this world will be in a mess. He's so drunk on his power, he needs someone to prevent him from abusing his power. Do you intend to play that role, Mr. Passios? Yes, UC Autumn has already crossed the line. In only 1 month after he started his activity, he's been gaining a lot of despise from the natives. Arakeli somehow felt terrible. A clear sadness was visible on her face. But don't worry, that guy is still only in 2nd place. Really? Yes, Passios has someone he really wants to kill. His name is Perudius. He's a really lucky player. He will throw this world into chaos soon. Well, I'm not particularly opposed to it. because I have a pretty deep grudge against players since I lost my job because of them, haha. Actually, after becoming unemployed, I realized it was good to be free. After Araceli heard all the story, she felt something was off. She has traveled to many dimensions and has been able to see and hear many things by belatedly following U.C. Autumn's footsteps. Wherever he goes, he always tries to balance the world by hunting very special people who are loved by the world. Perhaps. Araceli asked Riduran once again. Can you explain to me more about the player named Protagonist? Ah, that friend. After hearing all the explanations, Araceli was convinced. There is no mistake, Professor is aiming for Protagonist. That evening, Araceli headed to the scene where U.C. Autumn committed a murder with Passios and Riduran in tow. It's been a week since the incident, and for some reason, the case has been handed over to investigate without giving any details about what happens to the public. The Empire only stated that a player had killed an innocent noble. But what if they weren't actually innocent nobles? There is no mistake if you're the same professor I've been following, and no, y'all never kill innocent people. So Araceli infiltrated the crime scene using her leftover mana to prove U.C. Autumn's innocence and secure Passios and Riduran's help. It is an extraordinary magic. What kind of magic is it? I've never seen anything like this. It's different from a simple invisible magic. Passios and Riduran stiffly examined the translucent membrane surrounding their bodies. The act of hiding one presence with magic could be done with 3rd circle magic cognition reduction, 4th circle magic wide area cognition cancellation, and 6th circle magic invisibility. However, the magic Araceli cast wasn't simply lowering the enemy's cognition or making their body turn invisible. It was akin to walking on another dimension altogether. This magic was at least at the level of the highest tier magic that Riduran, a 7th circle wizard, could not understand. A sword expert class guard passed right next to them. However, even if they waved, jumped, and shouted in front of him, the guard didn't notice them at all. This way. Araceli closed her eyes and put her hand together. She meticulously poured her mana to all nooks and cranny and led the two men. She forced herself to use her mana that could not be recovered. The white blouse Riduran bought for her was soaking wet, but she couldn't care less. She was already struggling to keep her magic going. Professor needs help. However, there's a limit for what she could do with her current mana pool and fragile young body. But what if she could assure Passios, the master of the Black Knight Guild as well as the highest level player in the past, and Riduran, who was once the chief sorcerer, to help? I can help him. Araceli thought it must be a destiny to meet Passios and Riduran as soon as she arrived in this world. The cliché flows. That was a pretty accurate judgment. The heavy iron door, which was layered with defensive magic, opened and revealed the bleak interior of the room. Riduran immediately plugged his nose while Passios frowned, but Araceli walked in nonchalantly. This is crazy. What is all this? To think there's a large room in the basement. There's blood everywhere. There's also rotten body, flesh, and dark red magic circles scattered here and there. Riduran created a flame with his magic to incinerate all the corpses. Unfortunately, his flame wasn't able to burn the corpses because rotten corpses in dark red magic circle, it must be black magic. They found black magic in the basement of a government building in Dratican, a city of warriors protected by the Emperor of the Maraudin Empire. Black magic was something that was used by Black Dragon King and his followers. In other words, it could be said that the government official that was killed by UC Autumn was actually a traitor who was the enemy of mankind. In the end, he only killed those who were worth killing. Riduran rebuked Passios' words because he still couldn't understand. He could be a hero just by revealing this fact, but why didn't he do it? Does he have another plan? Obviously, his doubts were valid. Passios also couldn't completely erase his suspicion. But then Araceli said, Mr. Passios, you said that players need some kind of restrictions in order to live in this world. That's right. What if you weren't the only one who thought that way? What? Passios had never thought about it, because all players he knew were always too drunk in the power they got. Just like you, Mr. Passios, UC Autumn was a unique existence among players. Aren't you deliberately killing players to put a leash on them by using terror? It was a simple yet effective way. Obviously, players will be afraid of Passios. But my intuition said you will die in the hand of Perudius soon. Araceli, who had indirectly experienced numerous episodes in so many worlds, thought so. Although she had no knowledge about probabilities of the world, clichés, episodes, and the existence of the protagonist, she was able to see through the essence of the world using insights of the Ninth Circle Wizard. A player who hunts other players is in the end only an individual, and you will be the cause which will make the players unite. Araceli glanced at the terrible corpses that had fallen victim to black magic with her sad eyes. Professor U.C. Autumn probably had thought that far, so he took a completely different path from you. For example, exposing the danger that the player possesses to the world and deliberately inducing antagonism. What Araceli means was that U.C. Autumn showed the world about what will happen in the future when players grow even stronger. So he killed those who deserved to be killed, but deliberately let people hate him by not revealing it. Passios and Reduron could not understand the meaning behind U.C. Autumn's action. No, even if they had the same thought as him in the first place, they didn't have any confidence to do it like U.C. Autumn. How can a person do that, even at the expense of their life? It was bigger than I thought. If it's true, I don't want to leave him alone. Probably U.C. Autumn wants to stop assassinating native humans to keep their hostility towards him. And finally, he will sacrifice himself to self-destruct along with the evil player, allowing the good players to naturally assimilate into this world and live. That's what they thought. In fact, the professor cannot really sacrifice himself. Somehow, Araceli, who remembered U.C. Autumn's hateful yet unhateable behavior, calmed down. Now we can really meet. Passios and Reduron made their decision after contemplating their choice for a while. I think I know the group of players that are just right for this situation. Let me try to help U.C. Autumn's next action. I have to contact the princess. I don't care about what will happen, but it's for the future of the continent, so. Thank you very much. When Araceli smiled brightly at their positive decision, Reduron asked, as if he really did not understand. By the way, why are you going so far trying to help him? To that, Araceli replied with a smile brighter than ever. I want to meet my professor. Chapter 100. Wanted. 7-star rating. Player U.C. Autumn. Dead or alive? 2,500,000 G. It has been 3 months since U.C. Autumn, the serial killer, began his activities. In the meantime, he received an unprecedented rating of 7-star. His bounty had also soared rapidly. Not only was he charged with the crime of murdering major personnel, he was also becoming a Black Dragon King subordinate. The Black Dragon King was the enemy of mankind. It was a task that mankind must overcome. That was the purpose why players came to this world and hailed as heroes. However, what if the heroes sided with the Black Dragon King? That means people could no longer call them hero. I guess that friend decided to eat properly. Of course, when he has the chance, he needs to eat it properly. Is there any benefit joining hands with the Black Dragon King? The rumors said you could monopolize the items of other players who died after attacking the forces of the Black Dragon King. There was one thing in common with the pub building: you enter through the left door, the bar you enter through the right door, the club you enter through the upper door, and the alcohol store you enter through the lower door once the night comes. All of those stores were connected to City Hustle. City Hustle, a group that sounds like an ordinary nightclub or a mercenary group, was in fact a gathering place for chaos player. It was something akin to shelter for those who commit crimes because they could not control their strong power. City Hustle was spread all over the continent, which also indicated that there were so many chaos players in the society. Step. A lone chaos player walked into the City Hustle. In this place, no one didn't know about him. The once festive atmosphere turned cold instantly as soon as they saw him. The identity of the man was Passios, a killer who specialized in killing players as well as a strong player who was the first one to reach level 200. No matter how many chaos players gathered here, they were all tensed up in the presence of the man who specializes in hunting players. Critical thud. Some chaos players who had quite a bad temper rose from their seats and stood in front of Passios. Certainly, they were several times larger than Passios, but he wasn't scared at all. There's no need for you to be that tense. I just came to bring some good news to my colleague. Colleague, Passios was disgusted by that word. It was terrible to even think that these trash had the same value as him, but he tried to endure it by remembering a man who would be sacrificing himself even now. Good news. Yes, have you heard about player UC Autumn and the fact that he is recruiting players to join him? Of course they've heard about it. A month ago, UC Autumn successfully occupied Yormun Fortress through all sorts of tactics such as politic, assassination, assault, and intimidation. There's one more important thing. Yormun Fortress, the closest fortress to the Black Dragon King's giant castle, was captured by a player. Moreover, that player even joined hands with the Black Dragon King. And UC Autumn said, "Recruiting players to join me." The content is simple. He said that if they came under him, he would give them goods, treasures, and powerful strength they never see before. Anyone who was blinded by levels and items would have a hard time resisting after hearing UC Autumn's offer. But most players didn't even look at it. No matter how drunk they were, in the end, their goal was to hunt the Black Dragon King. But what about some players who didn't hesitate to do all sorts of crime for levels and items to them? UC Autumn's offer sounds enticing. It was said that you would always get experience from the Black Dragon King's cast and all sorts of rare items from hunting players around the world. Passios was there to give them the final push they needed. Aren't you curious about how I got the legendary weapon? Are you curious how I succeed at the impossible 7th enchantment? And aren't you curious about how Protagonist succeeded in the 11th enchantment? Why, what? What's the relation between all that and the Black Dragon King? If you're going to talk bullshit, get out of here. You stupid guys, this is why you guys are lagging behind, being treated as trash and being hunted. They couldn't refute even after hearing Passios' thorny words. In any case, it was only natural to think that the information of the person in front of them was correct. It's simple. If you received the power of the Black Dragon King, not only the enchantment probability will increase, you can also receive a legendary quest from him. Experience, level, class, and enhancement. You can get all this from him. Then, no way are you saying that the reason Protagonist is so empowered is because... Yes. Passios couldn't remember how many times he had repeated the same words in the last 2 months, but he was quite happy this time because of the fact that those stupid chaos players were being deceived again. He told them once again. It is only natural for those with power to rule the world. You know we have no reason to hide. You have the ability to get the best power faster than anyone else. How long do you plan to rot like mold in a corner like this if you really intend to live and die like that? I am disappointed to ever think that you are my colleague. There was a strange resonance in Passios' words. It touched the players' pride, lit the fire under them to seek more power, and touched their desire to gain stronger power faster. And above all, the strongest player said, "You can do this," and that word somehow became the justification for their actions. Let's write the date down. That day, let's meet at Yormun Citadel. There will come a world where those who seek only power and where players rule. Chaos players started to gather towards the Yormun Citadel. Unity of players, huh? The first princess of the Maraudin Empire, Ryu Haiyan, drank the world's most expensive black tea, red golden, and fell into her thoughts. Right across from her was Ridurun, who was restless and couldn't even drink the expensive red gold. The relationship between the two has always been uncomfortable and awkward. It was because the #1 successor to the Maraudin Empire, Ryu Haiyan, was in a position of confessing her love towards Ridurun, and Ridurun was in the position of fleeing from that confession. "Accept me, then with all my strength I will put you back to where you belong." In fact, it wasn't like Ridurun didn't hold the same feeling as Ryu Haiyan. However, the moment he accepted her feelings, she would lose half of her power in the succession war. That was the reason why he ran away from her confession. The Emperor held a favorable impression towards players. He even hated Ridurun. In the meantime, what will happen if the first princess gets rid most of the player brings back Ridurun just because she likes him? It was obvious that her power would reduce considerably. She gently twisted her red hair. Those lips that always held an intense impression were laughing viciously today. Certainly, in this situation, that was an interesting proposal. If we expose the bad deeds of the players and take credit of eradicating them all, it will be an opportunity to solidify my position in the Imperial Succession War. Then she added more words. If that happens, you know what to do, right? Yeah, yes, of course, but will it be okay? Riduran said carefully. I have already rejected the princess once. The princess was agonizing about what to do to the tactless man in front of her who brings up something that should be left alone. Yes, I was very offended. My heart also hurt a lot. My pride has already been torn to pieces. So when you came back, I was going to swear at you a lot and kick you out. But when I see your face, I can't do it. Ryu Hyein looked at Riduran with her subtle eyes. My torn pride, my wounded heart, all disappeared as if it was nothing. As long as you come back, those things are fine. Riduran felt waves of guilt in his heart. He did not know, but his heart also longed for Ryu Hyein. If he doesn't feel guilty here, Ryu Hyein will be rejected once more, and if he feels guilty, he won't be able to escape from her anymore. After confirming that Riduran still had feeling for her, Ryu Hyein said, Goods, then shall we go player hunting from now on? The original plan was this. Gather Chaos players and degrade their image further using the fame of Black Dragon King. This plan was quite plausible, and in fact, a good number of Chaos players had already flocked to Yormun Fortress, but the plan doesn't stop here. Get rid of Protagonist, who came to stop the Chaos player group. In fact, the rumor about the Black Dragon King was half true and half false. Because I had no intention of using the power of the Black Dragon King in the first place. However, it was true that the Yormun Fortress, which was actually called the Wall of the World, was stained by the Black Dragon King and had become a separate episode. In the first place, the Lord of Yormun Castle had already joined hands with King Black Dragon. Yu Autumn killed the Lord of the Fortress and took over the place. He also used the remains of the Black Dragon King army in the fort as a bait to gather the Chaos players and then stop Protagonist. There should be very few Chaos players who came after believing in my word. Can they hunt Protagonist alone? He honestly doesn't know. Again, the odds are only half and half. However, it was the best thing he could do right now, so he had to challenge himself. However, Yu Autumn, an exemplary Chaos player. I came to receive the item of the Black Dragon King. It's my first time seeing trash like you since I was born. I will follow you and become the world's greatest trash. Yu Autumn stared at thousands of Chaos players gathered in the Yormun Fortress with dumbfounded eyes. These many gathered. From the first time they arrived at the fortress until now, Yu Autumn still couldn't believe it. Just how stupid they are. It can't be. Although his name value has risen quite considerably as a criminal, he was also someone who just started his criminal career 3 months ago. What the hell's going on? However, all Chaos players looked at him with great respect as if looking forward to something. I heard that the Black Dragon King's items would be given to all of us. Protagonist, that guy, was also holding hands with the Black Dragon King and is reaping all the benefits by himself. It's okay, can you give our share too? Obviously, most of the words they said were nothing but their own delusion. By the way, how the hell do they all know? Chaos players are basically spread all over the world, and there's no way he could properly deliver the news to all of them. There was also no way for him to search for all Chaos players, so he abandoned that idea. This is because someone other than me moved behind the scene. He didn't know. There was a woman who worked so hard for his sake. Soon he put away his suspicion. There's so many Chaos players in front of him, he didn't have time for any other thoughts. Yu Autumn raised the grade 3 ether blade to the air. The actual grade of this weapon itself was only rare grade, but the glow it had was almost comparable to the hero grade weapon. You are right. Up until now, Protagonist was pretending to be a hero while colluding with the Black Dragon King to grow his strength and power. I can't leave him alone anymore. We all deserve to be free in the world. Soon after, Protagonist and his party arrived at the Wall of the World occupied by the Black Dragon King. Now he has come, let us all take off the mask of a false hero. Over 2,000 Chaos players raised their weapons to fight against the hero. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.